So welcome to the Node.js Technical Steering Committee meeting for uh, May 7th, 2025. We'll follow our standard approach of going through the issue that was created for with the agenda. That was issue 1735. Before we get started, does anybody have any announcements they'd like to share? I guess it's worthwhile mentioning that Node.js 24 went out this week. So um, that's new available if you want to take a look. And I guess also that 18 went end of life fairly soon. So 24 went out.
It's already end of life. Oh no, never mind. I'm sorry.
It became end of life this right. Well, this month. Any other announcements or so? I see Marco has his hand up. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that the survey, the next 10 survey is out, so please fill the survey.
Yeah, I think it's really worth mentioning that, I think we got lots of great data on the survey last year, and I could see it energized people to jump into certain areas. So definitely had an impact. And so if you can you can fill out the survey, that is definitely gonna make a difference. Okay, we will move on to the reminder. So a reminder to nominate people for the contributor spotlight. Hopefully we can get that going again. CPC and board meeting updates. I think Joe is here as one of our CPC reps. Any updates you would like to share?
I don't think so. We're continuing our, long running work on the code of conduct implementation, and policy. We made a bunch of progress yesterday, and that work continues. But I'm not sure if there's anything else of import to bring to the group.
Okay, sounds sounds good. With that, we can move on to the issues that were tagged for the agenda. The first one was related to the ask from some of our releasers to be able to help get posts out on LinkedIn. I don't think there's any public progress or discussion on that. So I would say unless anybody else has something they want to add, I'd leave that as no update this week. Okay. The next one is deadlock process at shutdown, number 54918. I don't know if there's been any more discussions or updates on that. Anybody have anything that they know? I see, Joey, you made a comment a few days ago on the issue.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
So I landed the request that at least I think from the CI, it makes the deadlock less frequent. But so the situation is that whenever there is a user blocking task, well, before, like whenever there's any worker tasks that get queued before, like right after we flush the foreground task queue and before the foreground thread goes into sleep, that would cause and if that task also block on the foreground task to complete because it posts another one, it will be like a bad timing. So the background task wait for the foreground task to complete. The foreground task is not actually getting run because the thread already goes into sleep. That would cause a deadlock. So I landed a request to only block on user blocking tasks that have specifically the highest priority. So that I think that in from the recent reliability reports that make the deadlock less frequent, or I think in the past 2 days it only shows up very rarely on Windows now. Um, I think there is still a chance that if there is a garbage collection, a major garbage collection task that's being kicked off at the wrong point, it will still deadlock, but that's less common compared to all the other tasks. All the other tasks are lower priority tasks are not going to cause deadlock. So that is, I guess, reduced, but still not completely going away. To make it completely go away, I guess we require more serious rewrite of the new platform. But I think it's less common in the CI these days.
Okay, well, that's great. So you basically improved the situation significantly, which is good.
Yes, there is still a huge fix me comment that I left there, describing how to fix it. I don't actually know how to fix it without proper investigation into the reason why we cannot just not block at all. If we don't block at all, some WASM compilation tasks, for example, are going to be dropped. Then, it's going to be buggy because people will be expecting that if you wait, WASM compilation is going to be finished before the process goes down. But yeah, that is still a fix me, but it's just less common. And also, because all the concurrent compilation tasks tend to be lower priority than user blocking, I think that means we can re-enable Spark concurrent Spark plug. I think Targos is sending a pull request to re-enable that. Those can be re-enabled because those are not user blocking. But yeah, the deadlock can still happen for certain um, less common tasks.
Okay, thanks. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to ask or add about on that one before we move on to the next issue? Okay, if not, the next one is number 7552, supporter page and updated homepage. I'm just seeing if there's been any other updates. I don't see any updates. I know there has been some communication outside the issue, but I don't necessarily want to speak for the foundation on that front. So it'd be great to have an update in the issue itself. And otherwise, I don't have anything else to add. I don't know if anybody else does. Okay, the next one then is the Bounty Hub proposal for Node.js. This is 1731. I don't know if anybody here has been involved in that discussion and wants to jump in to lead the discussion on it.
I can talk about this one. So I think
Okay.
it would be better if we start talking about issue number 1723 before that one, because that describes the main problem that this is trying to solve. So I'll tell you about the problem first. So someone reached out and they know about an issue that requires work in the loaders part of Node, and they just wanted to help out by paying someone to work on it. But the problem is that they don't know who to pay for this work. Like, it's really not clear who works on what in Node. So the main ask is that an entity wants to fund some work in Node, and there are some collaborators in Node who are interested in doing that work. So what can we do to create a self-survey for the entity to get in touch with these collaborators? So that's the main part of the problem. And for this, I tried to go through the issue about GitHub sponsors and Open Collective, because that one has lots of information about the kinds of problems that we were talking about earlier. So I tried to summarize the problems that I can find in this comment, and based on that, I could come up with a proposal that just says that we can just maintain a list of contacts of interested collaborators and their areas of interests and expertise, and we can just put this in a visible place, perhaps something like on the main Node.js website, and that way it would be easy for anyone to find the right people and get in touch with them and do the whole thing. So this was my proposal. I'm not sure if anyone has any thoughts on this. If not, we can probably give this a try, and then we can talk about the Bounty Hub proposal.
So the one logistical issue that we discussed probably last week was around when the money is involved, the behavior of the collaborators could be biased in one way or the other. So how do we institute a process in place so that the review process and the whole development process is not in any way compromised because of the paid work and unpaid work?
I think it would be best if, at least in the starting part, we as Node don't take any responsibility for that. But maybe that could change later.
Yep.
I see
Yeah,
Rich
but-
has his hand up as well.
Rich?
Yeah, building on what Girish just said, I do think that like I don't want to say that this isn't a good idea, because it might be a great idea. But I do want to just put out there that not every problem is necessarily worth solving. If someone is having difficulty paying someone to do work on Node.js to fix something, I don't know that that's something we necessarily should try to address. Maybe we should. I'm not saying we shouldn't either, but consider that it might not be something worth solving. It might create, especially if it creates issues like the one that Girish was just highlighting. Excuse me. And yeah, and that's yeah, I don't really have much more to say than that. I don't have an opinion one way or the other on this. I've not reviewed it as sufficiently as I think I would need to. But yeah, there's it's very common it's nice that people want to throw money at problems in open source, and that's really good in a lot of ways. But we are often wanting for other things. And I see that both James and Joy have their hands up. So now I'm going to be quiet and let people who actually know what they're talking about say something.
Sorry, I was just raising hands because I see Antoine and Robert are in the queue. They're not.
Yeah, thanks. I just promoted Antoine, and Robert I've tried to promote multiple times. So, oh, I see it's now accepted, but good. James, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to, just reiterate. I've dropped comments in the thread. We've talked about this kind of stuff before, so there shouldn't be any surprise coming from me. But I am very much against any kind of official bounty for feature development. If individuals or other companies or other entities want to provide that through some other means, fine, whatever. But I don't think it should come officially from the project. I don't think it should be officially managed by the project, simply because I think it sets up entirely the wrong incentives, can be gamed in a very unhealthy way within the project. And I do appreciate the work that's been going into putting the proposal together, but I'm just not seeing anything so far that counters that risk of it being gamed and just not setting up the right incentives. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Basically, just like I am very staunchly -1 against this. So yeah.
I just want to, sorry, I know Jerish, you're next, but I just wanted to ask clarifying point. There seems to be two proposals here. One is, I think, for an actual like bug bounty program, and the other one is about sharing information about people and skills who might be interested in being contacted. Does your statement apply to both of those or one of those? Just so
No,
that
just the bug bounty, just the bug
Okay.
bounty. I mean, if
Right.
folks want to, have a way of connecting people and that kind of thing, that's one thing. But I do not believe the project should provide any kind of bug bounty official. It's not outside of it. It's not part of like security.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Jerish.
Yeah, sorry, I just want to clarify that in the process of calling out some potential concerns, I forgot to mention that I'm a strong +1 to the proposal for one reason. I mean, the current trigger for this proposal may be an individual ask for an individual PR, but if you look at the overall workload of the project, be it the issue backlog or the PR backlog or any work item, CI situation, for example, there are a lot of work items which are lying down in an orphaned manner, and people who are working on voluntary basis, they pick choose items based on their interest, taste, or maybe their business needs, their company's requirements, so on and so forth. So in that process, what is left out is potentially important items. So if somebody is willing to pay for that, what is harm in somebody picking it up and the project endorsing it? So I strongly support this proposal. Just want to clarify that.
I'll ask the same clarifying question. Sorry, Jerish, is in terms of the bug, like an official bug bounty program or the sharing of information in terms of like who might be available, just or both?
You're talking about the finest level of detail. I'm just talking from a very high level point of view. We don't shy away or we don't ban any sort of money based contributions to the project. That's my stand. How it will be instituted, maybe we could be just putting some process in place to make sure that the development process is not compromised in any manner because of this, but the whole deal is between the consumer and the developer. The project is just a platform for them to come together.
Thanks. I see Robert has his hand up next.
Just a question. I see James' objection to this in terms of making it an official bounty program, but what's the difficulty in making it an unofficial bounty program? I mean, the same people can still do the bounty program and what's needed in an unofficial context. So I think it's a little bit of just a semantic question, no?
No, I mean, no, I don't. I don't think so. So, like nothing is stopping anyone. Like let's say Cloudflare decided, hey, we want to get more involved with Node, but we want to encourage the community to get involved. There's nothing stopping like a private entity or some other entity from setting up things, some incentive with the ecosystem saying, hey, write some code, submit some PRs to Node, and we'll pay you a bounty or whatever like that. Nothing is stopping anyone from doing that today, and there's nothing we need to do as a project to allow for that. As long as all of those contributions come in under the current review process, and it's not like anybody's buying a feature in the project. However, I think it sets up the wrong incentive if the project itself says, hey, we're going to set up this bounty where, we'll basically pay you for contributions.
No, but I think
I think that is a completely different type of incentive structure.
No, I think you misunderstood me, James. What I meant was that those people that are for this proposal, can't this proposal just be implemented by those people outside of the Node.js organization?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, anyone can set up those kind of things today without the project doing anything whatsoever. But you know, the discussion is whether whether the project should have this officially. That's what I'm objecting to.
Yeah, and my question is to those that are for this proposal. Would it be an option to just move this proposal outside of the organization and handle it there? Well, I mean, what's the difference more than the semantics of the, the project saying that we support this and there's a link on the website? Is there something beyond that that would be different?
I imagine there would be visibility and credibility diminished by doing that, but that might be an okay trade-off. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, if well-recognized Node people, advertise it on Twitter, etc., that we have started this, it's not Node official. I mean, it gets pretty close to as if it was official, but it's not.
I would agree with that.
And then I don't think we get into the problem that James is worried about, while still achieving the, 90% of the outcome we hope for.
Well, let's hear what Darshan and Girish and other people who are for the proposal have to say.
Regarding the Bounty Hub one, the CEO of the company said that they want to do some kind of partnership with Node about this. So I'm not really sure how much of this would happen if we do this outside of Node. So that's the part I'm not sure about. And I'm actually not +1 about this. I'm actually -1 about this so far. And I did share some of my concerns on the issues. So I can just mention it here. So the problems that are remaining is that if it's a bug bounty, then most of the bounties are public. So the public nature of the bounties are sort of exploitative. So that's something I'd like to prevent. And there's also another thing where we do have Bounty Hub coming here and proposing this, but then there are also other platforms like Algora. So I'm not really sure how we can pick and choose between these ones. And even the Bounty Hub CEO said that Algora is probably much more matured. So yeah, it's hard to choose. And then the other problem is that the potential beneficiary starts working with zero funding and only gets paid after working if you go through the bug bounty thing. And this is something that you can prevent if you do things directly. So if someone's contacting you, can just say that, hey, let's create a contract like this where you pay me some amount at first, and then I start working, and then you pay something on completion. So it's definitely possible like that, but if you do it through Bounty Hub, that's a limitation. And the other problem is that this can totally be gamed. So I can totally imagine folks gaming the system and making AI-generated PRs for some money. So that's something I'd also like to see prevented. Yeah. Robin?
Robin,
Yeah, I mean, are you ready? I have more to learn on your bounty proposal, but I do just want to remind everybody that we are a nonprofit 501c6. And with that carries a lot of responsibility. So any of the partnerships we have lots of attorneys who vet that. So I would want to dig deeper into that. And then also a reminder that projects themselves can't sign legal contracts with companies as well. So again, that sort of anything programmatic would need to come through the foundation. But again, I have a lot to learn, but I sort of would, based on what I've read quickly, would sort of reflect James' comments as well.
About the legal side of things, I think Paula wrote something about it. I can share the link in here. So the gist is that the Zig Foundation is doing something pretty similar to this, where they're doing the bug bounty thing, except the money is not really going to the person fixing the bug always. It's going to the foundation, and they're probably distributing it in the normal way that things are working there. So I think this might be possible. And for more info about just the Bounty Hub thing, you can go through this issue.
Yeah, again, we when we put together our ecosystem sustainability program, we had 3 different lawyers, tax lawyers, our nonprofit lawyers, open source lawyers review that, and then it went through the board. So again, I'm all about diversifying funding and doing what the projects are looking for. But the ecosystem program was fully vetted, and because the code had already been put to bed, that sort of created that different bar on why we are able to have a partnership in that regard. Again, I'm always open to new ideas, but I just want to make sure it's like properly vetted, because we don't want to risk our nonprofit status.
Sounds good.
Do we have enough voting TSC members here to make a decision on one or both of these issues at this point?
Well, I don't think, based on our consensus seeking, not like we can make a vote, we can get the consensus on like from the people who are here, what this group would think.
Okay, well, I assumed that that it was put on the agenda because consensus seeking was proving difficult or impossible, but okay, never mind then.
I think like at this case, if we wanted to say like we discussed in the TSC meeting and everybody here felt like the bug bounty program was a no-go, we could put that in as a comment.
I think it would be stronger to put in the information Robin shared, that it would be, the obstacles to doing it, but yeah, something like that. Anyway.
Yeah, if Robin wants to add that to the issue, that's always good versus us trying to interpret the message.
Good point.
So so go ahead.
I'll do that, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. So does the group here, do we want to make a comment? I don't know if we're like, I didn't hear too many people specifically say they were in support of an official bug bounty platform tool. There's like those 2 proposals, right? There's the one which is like we share information on the website or something, and then the other one was like we actually have a bug bounty platform. And I know that there's at least an objection to that. Is there anybody here is like, no, we need to continue to work on seeing if we can, I don't know, I guess I'm rambling a bit, but like, does everybody here say that like, yeah, no, we should just not go that way?
I mean, I think given the strong -1s to the specific proposal, I think that one is probably closable at this point, unless somebody wants to request a vote. Like, I don't think James, for example, is gonna come around to being +1 on that proposal.
That is correct.
Yeah, so we could basically say, does anybody object to us saying that, from the group of TSC members that are here, nobody would want to override that objection?
Yeah.
Now, I will say, like I don't anticipate they'll come around. If someone makes a strong enough case, I am always open to reconsider. But right now, it would need to be a very strong case.
So would anybody object to me adding a comment to the issue, basically saying and I'll figure out how many TSC members we had here, nobody felt that we would override the objection? Like, that's something.
Don't even worry about it, Michael. I'm going to go in there right now. I'm going to leave a comment, not as an official TSC maneuver here, just as, I'm going to, oh wait, no, actually, you know what? I take it back. I don't think I can't close issues in the TSC without using moderation privileges, so I can't do that in that repo. Never mind. carry on. Yeah, I do think we should close the issue and leave a comment saying, we don't believe that this is workable for these reasons, as discussed in the TSC meeting, blah blah blah. And if anybody wishes to further pursue this proposal, we can, they can request a TSC vote on the matter or something to that effect. I would leave as I would recommend making the opening for continuing that conversation as narrow as we can within the spirit of our governance rules.
Sorry, just a clarification. Would it be fair to say that we are not opposed to a bounty program in itself, but not under the Node.js official umbrella?
I think it would be fair to say that we don't have any say over whether someone does it outside of the Node.js umbrella.
I'm just, if people want to do this outside, but they don't want to do it, if we are strongly opposed to even that, I would like to avoid this unnecessarily discouraging it.
The way that I would put it is that the project will not endorse any outside bug bounties or official bug bounties, whether which is basically just to say the project won't have an official position one way or the other, positive or negative, on any outside program.
I think that sounds great.
So I've just pasted into the chat what I was proposing putting in the minutes. So like, any objections to closing the issue with the comment that the TCC members and presence did not believe that we would override the objection to a bug bounty program which is endorsed by the project. Therefore closing, I guess.
Yeah, and if Robert or someone else wants to come in and say, we explicitly also talked about, how we felt about an independent bug bounty, blah blah blah, they can add that information. But I think you putting that information and keeping it nice and short is excellent.
Okay, so if nobody here has an objection, I'll put that in, and then we can say, given that we think the right answer is to close this, let us know if you don't agree.
Sounds good.
Anybody else have anything to add before we move on to the next issue?
I want to ask about my proposal. So what should the next step be?
I guess like that, and that's the proposal to put information on the website, right?
Yeah.
Right, and I guess it's worth asking, does anybody here, have an objection to that? Like, and should we discuss concerns or whatever, or is everybody like that part of just saying like, here's some people who would be available in general, that makes sense, or we're not, or at least we don't object to it, and like an actual proposal showing what it looks like on the website is a valid next step.
Yeah, I would say a proposal for what it would look like on the website. I do have some concerns there with that kind of being a slippery slope. So what I would like to see as the next step would be that proposal, what it would look like, how it would be managed. So before going off and doing all the work to build it, just some due diligence around how it would work, what it would look like, how it would be managed, and go from there.
I think I would go ahead.
If I open a separate issue in the TSC repo, like sharing some more details about that, would that be fine?
That would be fine for me, yeah.
Great.
Anybody else have any comments before we move on then? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the Adopt Datadog test optimization tool. I know there's been a bunch of discussion in that. I think, and Darshan, I think feel free to jump in as well, but I think where we're at, if I understand the discussion, is like, we're not sure it would add to the information we already have. So unless somebody's a strong champion for doing it, we might just be able to say, at this point, we won't. Does anybody else have a different understanding or have comments, thoughts, thinks we really should do it?
Rich has a comment.
Yeah, we have 15 minutes we said we'd reserve, so we've got 4 minutes to go.
Okay, I can try to share some of my thoughts about this. So the Datadog test optimization tool. So I went through the documentation and it looks like it's going to give you some analytics about our flaky tests at best. So I don't see how this is going to improve the CI situation in Node. And the way this was proposed is that this is a commercial product of Datadog, and it's being given for free to some open source projects that qualify based on some of their open source guidelines. And those are documented in here. And based on my read, it seems like they are searching, they want open source projects that are mature and have a community to apply for these tools. And the outcome for Datadog is that if the open source projects start using this, then Datadog would ask us to let the community know how we're using their tool and how it has benefited us. And this is basically creative marketing. That's my understanding. So if Node doesn't really need this and it's not going to solve a real problem for Node, it's basically doing free marketing for Datadog. And I'm not sure that this is something that we should be doing.
Right. So again, we are down to, I think, like 2 minutes, but I think it comes back to, and from the discussion I can see, I don't see a strong advocate right now for doing it. And like, I can, from what I've read, I'm kind of like what Darshan said, we won't necessarily see a massive benefit in terms of additional information. So, my proposal would be like, unless we have a strong proponent, the right thing is that we basically said, no, we're not going to do it for now. And I wonder if anybody has any objection to us making a comment to that effect in the issue that, like, hey, from the discussion in the TSC, unless we have a strong advocate, which we don't think we do have, we should just say no at this point and close it. Does anybody object or have concerns with that? Okay, so I'll take the action to add a comment to the issue to that effect, and then if unless there's any objections, we can close it out. So at that point, that takes us to the last one, which I think we've already covered above, and we've run out of time. So let's move into the private section. So I'll say thanks for everybody who's been watching on the live stream, and we will see you in GitHub and next time. So.